This is the key to quiz 2, topic 5 factoring. And on this quiz, it does cover topic 5. And remember, topic 5 was where we did this by trial and error or reverse FOIL. So at that point, we had not talked about the AC method. But if you did use the AC method on these, that's fine. It's no big deal. But when I go over or when I work these problems, I am not going to use the AC method because that was a different topic. All right, so let's look at number one. So I'm gonna go ahead and write number one over here. So number one, we had you wanted to factor, and you wanted to factor 10x squared minus 19x plus 6. All right, so remember, we are doing reverse FOIL or trial and error. And so first thing you have to do is to look for the greatest common factor. All right, so the GCF of those three terms here is 1. So since the GCF is 1, let's go ahead and try to factor this as two binomials. All right, now we're using reverse FOIL. The more you do with these, the quicker and the better you become at factoring these, recognizing what factors will give you this trinomial. Okay, so so let's try some things here. So remember, in doing reverse FOIL, you did the first. You did f first. So the first times first is 10x squared. Now remember, for 10x squared, there were two possibilities. There was 2x times 5x, and there was 10x times x, right? And so let's just go ahead and try 2x and 5x first. And for right now, it really doesn't matter whether you put 2x here or 5x in the first parentheses. Does not matter. I'm going to go ahead and put 5x. I'm going to put 5x here and 2x here. And so far we're good because 5x times 2x is 10x squared. So that's my f. All right, now the L, we're looking at the last now. So that's this term here. Okay, now keep in mind, you see this is a plus symbol right here. The only way you can get a positive 6 is if these signs in here are the same. A negative times a negative is a positive times a positive is a positive. But if the last sign is positive, that's easy to determine what signs you have, what signs you need to put, because the middle sign's negative. So that means the outer and the inner both have to be negative. So in order for the outer and the inner to both be negative, these signs in here have to be negative. All right, and for 6, remember for 6 there were two possibilities. That was 3 times 2, 6 times 1. And let's go ahead and try 3 and 2. Now I want to just remind you about something. If you put 3 here and 2 here, and you would check this and you would see that it wouldn't work, but right away you know it's not going to work because if you put a 2 here, do y'all see you can take out a 2, you can factor out a 2? And so that means that if you can factor out a 2, this factors a 2, that means that each of these terms is divisible by 2, and 19, negative 19, is not divisible by 2. So I know that I cannot put the 2 here. So let's put the 2 in the first parentheses and the 3 in the second parentheses. Okay, so let's try that. So let's do 5x. So I know that the signs in here are going to be both negative. And let's put the 2 here, the 3 there, and I forgot the x right here. The 2x. Sorry, let me go ahead and write this over. 5x minus 2 times 2x minus 3. All right, so let's do reverse FOIL. Let's FOIL this out rather and see if this gives me my trinomial. All right, so f 5x times 2x, 10x squared. So far we're good. The last. A negative 2 times a negative 3 is a positive 6. So far we're good. Now let's do the outer and the inner. You must always check the outer and the inner. The outer, 5x times a negative 3 is a negative 15x. The inner, a negative 2 times 2x is a negative 4x. And notice when I add them up, a negative 4x and a negative 15x is a negative 19x. And that's what I wanted. So therefore the answer is going to be 5x minus 2 times 2x minus 3. That's the answer. And since this was multiple choice, it's going to turn out to be, let's see, letter B. Oops, sorry, not letter B, excuse me. Letter C. Letter C. Okay, so letter C. All right, number 2. So let's go ahead and look at number 2. So number 2, we have this for number 2. Let me use a new sheet of paper. So number 2, we have this. We have 9x squared plus 15xy plus 4y squared. All right. Okay, so again, trial and error. So let's go ahead and do FOIL. And the GCF here is 1, but notice I do have two variables, right? So keep that in mind. And so I'm going to factor this as two binomials. And let's talk about 9x squared. There is only two possibilities for 9x squared. There's 3x times 3x, and there's 9x times x. Let's go ahead and try 3x and 3x first. So 3x and 3x. All right, now the last sign's positive, so remember our discussion. Since the last sign's positive, that means these signs in here have to be the same. And since my middle sign is positive, that means they both have to be positive. All right, and then for 4y squared, let's talk about 4y squared. So for 4y squared, there are two possibilities as well. There's 2y times 2y, and there's 4y times y, right? So let's go ahead and try 2y and 2y first. Now again, the more you do, the more practice you do with these, the better you become. So if I do 2y and 2y, and again, you would FOIL this out, right? To check it. Always check. So let's see what we get. 3x times 3x, 9x squared. So I'm good with the first. The last, 2y times 2y is 4y squared. So far I'm good. Now let's do the on the inner. The outer, 3x times 2y is 6xy. The inner, 2y times 3x is 6xy also. And when I add them up, I get 12xy, but that is not what I wanted. So that did not work. So instead of trying 2y and 2y, let's try 4y and y. Let's see if that works. So let's go ahead and keep 3x and 3x the same. And remember, we're still going to say plus plus because the last sign's positive. These signs have to be the same, and they're going to be this middle sign. And let's go ahead and put the y here, the 4y here, see what happens. All right, FOIL it out, check it. Don't go any further without checking. 3x times 3x, I'm going to go ahead and write FOIL. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared, so F is okay. The last, y times 4y is 4y squared, so L is okay. And let's do the on the inner. The outer, 3x times 4y is 12xy. The inner, y times 3x is 3xy. And when I add them up, I get 15xy, which is what I wanted. So the answer is going to be 3x plus y times 3x plus 4y. And that, since that was a multiple choice question, that is going to be letter B in this case. All right. So that was this one here. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3, we have this for number 3. Number 3. All right, so number 3, we have 3y squared plus 14y minus 5. 3y squared plus 14y minus 5. All right, now, so notice this time the last sign's negative, so we're going to have a discussion about that. And this is not going to be that bad because both 3 and 5 are prime. So there's only one possibility for 3y squared, and there's only one possibility for 5, right? And notice the GCF, the greatest common factor of those three terms is 1. So I'm going to go directly to the product of two binomials. So reverse FOIL, trial and error. So let's do the F first. So the only possibility for two terms whose product is 3y squared is 3y and y. So let's put 3y here, y here. You could put y here, 3y here, does not matter. And now let's go to the last. Now remember, this sign's negative, right? So since this sign's negative, that means the signs in here are different. So right now, let's go ahead and put plus minus. All right, you may have to switch this, and we're going to switch it if we have to. And for 5, notice there's one possibility for 5, and that's 5 and 1. So let's put the 5 here, 1 there. All right, now let's check it. Always check. 3y times y, 3y squared. So F is okay. Now let's go to the last. A positive 5 times a negative 1 is a negative 5. So that's good. Now let's do the on the inner. The outer, 3y times negative 1 is negative 3y. The inner, 5 times y is 5y. When I add them up, I get 2y, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted my middle term to be 14y. So that did not work. Let's try something else. So let's go ahead and keep the 3y and the y in the same place. And instead, let's switch the 5 and the 1. And let's still say plus minus. So I'm going to put the 1 here, the 5 here. See what happens. All right, again, always check. FOIL. 3y times y, 3y squared. So f is okay. L, positive 1 times negative 5, negative 5. So L is okay. Now let's do the outer and the inner. The outer, 3y times negative 5 is negative 15y. The inner, 1 times y is y. But when I add them up, a 1y and a negative 15y is a negative 14y. But that's not what I wanted. But I'm close. See, the 14y and negative 14y are opposites. So since those are opposites, all that tells me to do now is to change the signs. So the answer then is that since these are opposites, the answer then is going to be 3y minus 1 times y plus 5. But always check again. Make sure you check this. So we're going to check by using FOIL. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over, and we're going to check it. And so if I FOIL, 3y times y is 3y squared. The outer, 3y times 5 is 15y. The inner, negative 1 times y is a negative y. The last, negative 1 times 5 is a negative 5. And when I combine like terms, I get 3y squared plus 14y minus 5, which is what I wanted. All right, so there's the answer. Now I want to say something else. See how I wrote 3y minus the factor 3y minus 1 first? Remember, multiplication is commutative, so you can multiply it in any order. So someone else could have written this as y plus 5 times 3y minus 1. All right, just keep that in mind. Okay, that was number 3. Okay, now let's look at number 4. So in number 4, we have this in number 4. And so let me go ahead and move this around. All right, number 4. We have 14x squared minus 23x plus 3. All right, so the GCF is 1. The greatest common factor is 1. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this as 2 binomials. The last sign's positive, so that's going to make the signs in here easy to deal with. And the last term's 3, that's prime, and so that's going to make that part a little bit easy as well. And for 14x squared, and remember we're doing reverse FOIL. For 14x squared though, there's only 2 possibilities. There's 7x times 2x, and there's 14x times x, right? And so let's try 7x and 2x. It does not matter whether you put 7x here or 2x here. It does not matter because remember multiplication is commutative, and you're going to follow this out to check your work just to make sure it's correct. And then if it's not, you try something else. So let's put 7x and 2x. The last sign's positive, so in order to get a positive 3 here, you have to say negative times a negative or a positive times a positive. And you know they both have to be negative because when you do the outer and the inner, they both have to be negative. They have to add up to be a negative 23x. And for 3, let's go ahead and put 1 here, 3 there, and see if it works. All right, remember trial and error, right? That's all that is. The more you do, though, the better you become at it. You can visually see which one works a lot quicker. So, reverse FOIL. 7x times 2x, 14x squared. So f is good. The last, a negative 1 times a negative 3 is a positive 3. L is good. Now let's do the outer and the inner. The outer, 7x times a negative 3 is a negative 21x, right? And then negative 1 times 2x is a negative 2x. And when I add them up, notice right away, when I add them up, I get a negative 23x, and that's what I wanted. So the answer is going to be 7x minus 1 times 2x minus 3, or remember multiplication is commutative, so the order in which you multiply does not matter. So I can write this as 2x minus 3 times 7x minus 1. All right, and then finally number 5, we have 3x squared minus 7xy minus 10y squared. All right, so now again, notice I have 2 variables The last sign's negative, so that's going to be a little bit tricky for some of you, but it is doable because you're going to be checking anyway, right? Checking your work. So the greatest common factor is 1. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this as two binomials, and we're doing reverse FOIL. So uh, what two terms multiplied together is 3x squared? There's only one possibility, 3x and x. So let's put that here. The last sign's negative, so these signs are going to be different. And for right now, let's just put plus minus, right? You're going to be checking this anyway. If it doesn't work, we'll switch them. And then the last term is 10y squared, and there are only two possibilities for 10y squared. There's 5y times 2y, and there's 10y times y. And so let's try 5y and 2y first. So let's go ahead and put 5y here, 2y here, and see if that works. All right, FOIL, always check. 3x times x, 3x squared. The last. 5y times negative 2y, negative 10y squared. Now let's do the outer and the inner. The outer, 3x times negative 2y is a negative 6xy. The inner, 5y times x is 5xy. When I add these up, I get a negative 1xy, which is not what I wanted. So that didn't work. So let's switch the 5y and the 2y. And let's keep the signs as they are. So if I switch those, let's see what happens. So I get 3x plus 2y, and then x minus 5y. So let's see if that works. So let's do FOIL again. 3x times x, 3x squared. The last, 2y times negative 5y is negative 10y squared, so that's good. Now let's do the outer and the inner. The outer, 3x times negative 5y is negative 15xy. The inner, 2y times x is 2xy. When I add them up, though, I get negative 13xy, and that's not what I wanted either. So that kind of means that this is not going to work. So let's try 10y and y. So let's go ahead and do this again. So that's 3x x plus minus. All right, let's just redo this using 10y and y. So let's go ahead and put 10y here and y here and see what happens. All right, so reverse FOIL. So we're going to check this out. We're going to FOIL this out. 3x times x, 3x squared. So I'm good so far, right? Because that's what I wanted. The outer, let's do the last next. 10y times negative y is negative 10y squared. That's what I wanted. All right, now the outer and the inner. The outer, 3x times negative y is negative 3xy. The inner, 10y times x is 10xy. When I add them up, I get a positive 7xy. I'm almost there, right? They're opposites, so all that means is I change the signs, and there's my answer. So your answer is going to be 3x minus 10y times x plus y. And if you check it, if you check it, you're going to get the right answer. So if you follow this out, 3x times x, 3x squared, 10y times y, negative 10y squared. Now that the outer, 3x times x is 3xy. The inner, that's negative 10xy. When you add them up, you get negative 7xy. And notice that is what you wanted. So there's the answer. All right, so that is the key to quiz number 2 on topic 5.